Hey guys, welcome back, it's Ripe again. In today's video, an insane employee Karen towed my car and claims to be the person in charge. She did not realize that I am actually her boss. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the video. So I recently started a new job. I was an external hire for an IT firm, becoming one of the branch's supervisors/managers after a couple of months of training. It's quite difficult to comprehend that everything I am about to go into detail on happened on my very first day, but it did. Everyone wears suits here, so nothing I was wearing would distinguish me from the rest of the staff. Which was certainly what I wanted, as I did not want everyone to know that I was the boss right away. I did not want to catch anyone by any means, but there's no harm in seeing people's true colors if they choose to show themselves. One woman piqued my interests straight away. It was roughly 8 AM, not many people were in the building yet. I was in one of the break rooms making myself a cup of tea, when in she stormed with her head held high. She walked right over and grabbed the kettle just as it finished boiling. I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt, but come on, clearly I was seconds away from using it. Once she had made her tea, I made mine, and I saw out of the corner of my eye that she was staring at me whilst tapping her heel on the floor. "Can I help you?" I asked after a couple of minutes, getting a little uncomfortable. "Who are you?" she snapped. "Just started working here," I responded with a smile. She rolled her eyes and turned around, storming back out of the break room and slamming the door behind her. I had not had a clue what she was so bothered about, and I walked out of the break room and into the office, watching as the woman continued her march over to another employee. "You, what do you think you're doing?" she all but yelled at her. "I'm clocking in," the other woman replied, clearly nervous. "Why?" "Because I'm about to start working. You told me to start coming in earlier." "Just because I told you to come in early does not mean I gave you the permission to clock in at the same time as well." "What?" The other woman was clearly a little stunned. "Look, you're to come in and start working off the clock. The budget won't allow for any extra hours." "But if I'm coming in early, I'll be being paid for it, right?" "Lose the attitude. You come in early, off the clock, to get set up and begin your work so that you can meet the same quotas as everyone else." "But my quotas last month were one of the highest." "Listen, you don't talk back to me. Now do as I say and be done with it." The woman, full of anger, turned and walked past me, knocking into my shoulder as she did so. I hovered around for a while, deciding that today I would just oversee the general operations to get my head around things. I did not want to just be standing at the side staring the whole time, so I did do some of my own work as well, but on one of the spare computers in the shared office and not in my own. This gave me a great seat to the next show the woman was performing. "Whose car is that?" she yelled, standing by the window. I watched as people looked up, some looking scared and some just looking unfazed. This attitude seemed to be a regular occurrence. "Answer me," she screeched. "Please, let us just do our work," someone muttered. "What was that?" she asked, stalking over to them and grabbing the back of her chair. This was when I decided to step in. "Stop what you are doing right now," I spoke as I stood from my chair. "Sorry, who do you think you are?" she responded with a bewildered look, and I had the feeling she was not used to being spoken against. I walked over to the window and looked down into the car park. "That is my car." "And why is it parked there?" "Why is my car parked in the car park?" I asked with a laugh. "Yeah, no, why is your car parked in my space? That's reserved for high employees only." "You clearly are not using it right now though, are you?" I asked, referring to the fact it was empty when I came in. "Well, there are two, and I have ownership to both spots." "I really don't think that anyone owns these spots." "And how would you know?" "Because I've read all the corporate policies and the standard contract." "Oh, don't get smart with me. You need to move your car." "Yeah, I'm not gonna do that," I responded with a shrug. Just before I got a phone call, I walked away to take it, stepping into the break room. I ended up being on that call for a good 30 minutes. It dragged on much longer than anticipated. When I walked back into the room, I saw the woman from before stood by the window with a smirk on her face. "Welcome back. Not all of us can just take 30-minute breaks to take a personal phone call." "Well, it was a business call, but whatever." "Why would you be taking a business call?" she scoffed. "Sorry man, we tried to stop her," someone interjected from nearby, a sorry look on their face as they gestured to the window. I walked over and peered out, noticing that my car was no longer parked in its spot. "Sorry," the woman said with a fake smile on her face. "You had no legal right to have my car towed," I responded, keeping a straight face as I knew this was not gonna end well for her. "Who said it was me? We have cameras in this room that pick up audio and cameras in the parking lot that will show it being towed after you made the call." "Okay, and who's gonna bother taking up a case against some lowly employee?" I think the boss might. We haven't even gotten a new boss yet. Who are you thinking you're going to snitching to? I'm the highest ranking member until the new boss gets here. Unofficially, someone muttered through a cough. I stared at her for a second as she smirked, deciding I would just burst her bubble now. Well, Karen, I'm your new boss. The woman's face fell before she started laughing hysterically. Yeah, right. And why wouldn't you have introduced yourself earlier? Well, so I can see which of my new employees will need to get the boot. I've got to be honest, that was a good one. I have not laughed like that in, well, forever. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my ID badge, and she studied it for a minute before her face paled. It detailed exactly who I was and what my current position in the company was. I was the one smirking after that, assuming that she would get all embarrassed and start apologizing, but no, within an instant she had lunged across the distance between us and slapped me hard across the face. The room went silent as my head whipped to the side. I heard someone calling the police and Karen stormed once again into the break room. A few asked if I was alright, the only thing I was embarrassed. Once the police arrived, we told them what had happened and then they went into the break room to speak to the woman. From what we could hear from the outside, she kicked up a bit of a fuss and the next thing we knew, she was being dragged out in handcuffs. You cannot do this! Do you know who I am? I'm a very important member of this company! She yelled as they drug her away. No, not anymore, you're not! I yelled across the room, causing her to silence for a few seconds before her screeching began up again. I went into my office and started looking into her background and found a huge heap of complaints made by employees and customers against her. I was slightly angered that nobody had fired her sooner, to be honest. Some of the complaints even listed assault, which I sent to the station straight away to worsen her sentence. She ended up getting 7 months in jail for the assault of myself and other employees who stepped forward, who were all more than happy that she was now gone. She of course lost her job, and with her new record I cannot say that it will be easy for her to find new employment. On top of that, the fees for the car compound came straight out of her last paycheck, just to add salt to the wound. All I can say is that I'm more than happy such an entitled person for the consequences she deserved. And yeah, Ripe Stars, if you still enjoy stories about Karens getting what they deserve, then please don't forget to like the video and maybe even post a comment, because that would help me tremendously. Either way, the next one is a malicious compliance story. So I work in the hospitality industry in a small town fed by tourists. This sadly leaves issues for businesses trying to find reliable employees. To try and incentivize those people to find work in town, every business is raising its wages to keep people who actually do their job. Even the Golden Arch burger chain starts at $9 an hour. So when I got hired here, I went through all the paperwork, signed all the documents, reviewed all the policies of a business trying to act far more professional than it actually was. I was given policy booklets, signed that I read them, and set on my way through training. All is well for a while, until the HR staff was cut. Now, as it goes in this particular business, any responsibility that could be taken on by the general manager is given to the general manager. He runs housekeeping, maintenance, groundswork, scheduling, dining and waitstaff, hiring and firing. If you can think of an area behind the scenes, he basically runs it. He's also my direct boss, so I'm a good noodle. I work the night shift solo, and I actually show up on days that I'm scheduled. I show up on time, I do my job, even if I've received nothing but positive reviews from my boss and his boss. Anyway, we are not here to celebrate these achievements. We are here to celebrate what happened when I told him no. So in the summer of last year, I was out of town picking up the girlfriend from the airport after she had done a wonderful trip to Belize. We had a good weekend doing the things couples likes to do, when right after eating my favorite pizza, I felt like my stomach rejecting the food I had eaten. The next dozen hours were brutal. I emptied more out of me than I thought my body could hold. Obviously, I was sick. I could barely pack my bags the next morning, let alone actually move them to the car. It's still bright and early, not long past dawn, when I realize I'm gonna need a day to recover. So then I contact my boss, I lay it out for him, and for the first time in over a year and a half let him know that my shift that night needs to be covered. The policy book I had read like a good employee told me that calling in sick is okay. Calling in sick for one day does not require a note, only the second and consecutive days would. I would not have to go to a doctor for a note because it's only one day, so I can rest and come back in good as new. But I would not be posting here if I got off work that easy, would I? He told me I would either have to work or I would have to get a doctor's note. After 18 months or more never calling in sick, covering every shift I was asked to, he picks now to treat me like a child. Alright, may as well. So I got to one of those urgent care clinics. The nurse gives me a 2-minute consultation, sends me out with prescription strength anti-nausea meds and 3 copies of a doctor's note. Because you're damn right, I'm keeping my own copy, so I read the note and it states OP is sick and cannot perform job duties for 5 days, signed by doctor. Why not? I shoot him a picture of the note and radio silence. Now you gotta understand, this man works 9 to 5, he does not work nights. I got another coworker who does my job on my days off, so I expect him to have been called in that night. After the radio silence, and since I was still up that night anyway, I prepared my 2 weeks notice just in case they're gonna try and make me work anyway. I got into work with a copy of the doctor's note and my notice to meet people at the shift change. To my surprise, I saw my boss and he looked like crap. He looks at me, confused as to why I'm here. Before he spoke, I handed him the note, not my notice yet, and said, "Glad you're here," and "Hi receptionist, boss, here's a copy of my doctor's note. Figured I would drop this off in person since you didn't reply to me in the last 8 or so hours. Can I go home and rest now?" "Boss, I cannot believe you were actually sick. Guess I'll see you next week." Receptionist, "I hope you feel better." And with that I left. The next several days were spent recovering, sleeping an ungodly amount. I'm really glad I listened to the doctor. The aftermath of this whole event is not very exciting, but it was satisfying. The next Tuesday, a week after the incident, I was pulled into the office. I was asked why I requested so many days from the doctor, how it hurt him to have to fill all those nights, etc. I gave him the honest reply, "Doctor, did not ask how long I needed. I just asked for a doctor's note and I was handed this one. By the way, I still have a couple copies if you lost one." He started to protest, saying I should have corrected the doctor, but I stopped him. "Get a copy of the policy book, would ya?" He did. Turn to the attendancy policy and read out the portion about sick days and doctor's notes. The boss, oh. Me, yep. "So if you keep pestering me about this, I'm gonna go to the owner, his boss, and ask to be compensated for the cost of their clinic visit and ask that you be reprimanded for not following your own policies. Or you can let me do my job and not treat me like a child going forward." That spells the end of that conversation, and I was not bothered again. Still, gave my 2 weeks soon after because screw that guy. And the next one is titled Pay for My Work or GTFO. I am naming the company name because I've had many issues with them and everyone should be warned. So I have to say this first, beware of working for the delivery service Shipped. Today I picked up an order for delivery, it had gone promo, money added on Shipped. It was for delivery in a town that is 15 minutes from the store of purchase. Alright, not too bad for $16, especially since I live within 10 minutes of the town I was delivering to. I take it. I go to the store, receive the groceries, and I am on my merry way. I then send a text to the customer that I'm on my way and will reach them before XYZ time. No response, so I give a quick call. It does a weird thing and ends. Does not even go to voicemail. Whatever, I sent them a text. I get to the house, knock, no answer, leave the bag outside the door and walk away, make it to my car. I then start said car. The woman pokes her head out the porch door as I'm about to leave. "You were very lovely, woman on porch, thank you for your kindness," waves me down, looking highly confused. So I, unfortunately, stop the car and get out. The woman asks what this is. "Why, your order, ma'am," I say, looking all happy. "I didn't order anything," she says. "Oh no, did anyone else in the house?" "Nope. Oh no. So there's a wrong address on the delivery." I've never dealt with this before and I have to leave to catch a movie with friends in 30 minutes. Cue me going door to door at each house on that small street, while reaching out to Shipped support and while trying to call the customer again. Does the same weird thing with the phone and I give up on that. I proceed to knock on doors, nope, nobody's. Alright, Shipped suggestion? Just drive back and return it. No Shipped, I'm a delivery contractor. I'm not a volunteer, nor am I charity. I am hired by you to fulfill deliveries. As far as I'm concerned, I have delivered to the address on file. I am not reaching into my bank account to correct someone else's mistake. For the total extra 30-minute round trip, I will need $10 on top of the initial pay. Thanks gas for being so expensive. No, they say, we will give you $8.10. No, I say. I have plans in now 10, what should have been 30, mind you, minutes that I will now miss. $8.10 will not cover the gas and wear and tear for the extra 30 minutes. I will need no less than $10 or I will leave them on the curb of the noted delivery address, 580 Blanking Street in Dickoff. We'll give you $5 and cannot do any more than that, they say. Wait, I say, $5 on top of the additional $8.10 to make $13.10 on top of what I'm being paid, or just $5? I want everything in writing specifically because I knew Shipt was gonna do exactly what they did next. Oh yes, $13.10, but we cannot do any more. They say, fine, I'm returning it to the store now, I say. So I go to the store, do the whole return process, get in contact with Shipt as they directed me with the requested information, and then I get a message on my phone from Shipt to the effect of, your order has been cancelled and $20.80 issued to your account. What? I contact Shipt and say I'm confused, say it looks as though they were only giving me $5 on top of the original order payment when they said I would be compensated $13.10. I was told, oh, we won't give you any more than $5. Well, but you already said... Is there someone else I can speak to? Nope. $5, take it or leave it. Alright. Fine, don't want me to pay the agreed upon wage? That is a breach of contract, meaning you never actually paid me for this return. So what did I do? I marched right back into the store, asked the worker who had taken the return what she had done with it, snatched the bag up, strode up to a manager, informed them of what happened and told them, since I was not being paid to return the groceries, I would be taking them back to the last place I was contracted and paid to deliver them, 580 Blanking Street in Dickoff. Told him if he wanted to be recompensated for the groceries, he could charge Shipt, as they were not willing to pay to have them returned. I then messaged Shipt from my car informing them of this and gave them 30 minutes. Yep, plans definitely ruined, it is now 2 hours later. To rescind their decision and pay me what they actually agreed to and owed me. Had to reach out 2 separate times because the first girl, despite me being very polite, would not go to anyone else such as management to ask for an exception to this policy, considering they had literally told me they would pay me more. And they actually had the gal to ask if I had taken items I had returned, and all I had to say in response was, did you pay me to return them? Second girl was much more helpful, reached out to her team to see if anything could be done. Shipt still would not be swayed, but I thanked her profusely for at least trying. So in the end they said they would not do any more than $5. I told them, alright, I reject that offer, just pay me for the original delivery because $5.80 is where they will be. You can pay another Shipt shopper $15 to come get them, drove back, it was on my way home and dropped them off and left. I'm not a charity, I don't work for free and I certainly don't pay to work. I'm gonna be messaging ShopRite Corporate directly, along with the New Jersey Labor Board, because this is not the first issue with wages I've had with Shipt, and honestly, ShopRite should seek compensation from them. Have fun paying for the more than $13.10 of groceries that are now rotting on the curb, Shipt. By the way, side note to anyone who may say, you're being entitled, no, I'm not. It's not entitled to expect an agreed upon wage. This is clearly extortion to expect me to work for less than agreed. Imagine you accepted an order from a delivery service, fulfilled that obligation, and suddenly they decided to pay you less than half for that completed order. Or you're working at a job and they suddenly cut your pay without any notice or agreement upon your part. As I explained to them, I never would have returned the groceries for $5 because it was not my mistake, would have returned them no problem if it had been, and I would be paying to return them, plus the missed plans, plus the lost time. So no, I am in no way in the wrong and I don't care what anyone who thinks otherwise has to say. And the next one is titled Mega Entitled Neighbor. So I live in a building where we have assigned parking spots. They give you a sticker with a number on it, I am number 80, and you park in the spot with that number. It's pretty simple. So I always have guaranteed parking unless they are doing some sort of maintenance on the lot. A while ago they were redoing the surrounding streets and had to have all the people who live in the area and don't have a parking permit for a space move to other areas, which is obviously inconvenient in a congested urban area, but in theory it has no effect on me. I came home late one night at about 1 AM from a friend's house and there was a car in my spot. Now, the building has a giant sign up to let people know the lot is under contract with a tow company, and I was about to call but noticed the car had a note in the window. Something like, "Don't have this is towed. Call this number. I called, and a few minutes later one of my neighbors who would also have an assigned spot came out. He politely explained that there were no spots on the street, so he offered his girlfriend mine. Which means he parked in his space and then was gentlemanly enough to offer something of someone else to her. I let him know it is my spot, so he would have to move. We had a brief argument about the late hour and how hard it would be for her to find a spot on the street. Not seeing how either of them having trouble finding parking on the street was a me problem, I insisted he move, and we went to get the keys and got out of my spot. I ran into him in the hallway a few days later, at which point he looked at me and said, "F you!" And I don't think we are gonna be friends. So am I the a-hole for asking him to get out of my spot even if it was 1 AM and all of the surrounding roads were under construction? Comment number 1, not the a-hole. And you are nicer than me for even calling the number. I would have just called the tow company. I'm not tangling with an inconsiderate a-hole at first in the morning. Comment number 2, not the a-hole. I would recommend reporting the incident and his later behavior to your building management. It sounds like this guy might be trouble for you and anyone else who does not bend to his will. He held a grudge for several days and knows where you live and where you park. Just be safe and report it now. Next time let the tow company handle the "don't tow me bro" notes. And yeah, ripe stars, let me know in the comments what you think about this. Do you think that OP is the a-hole or not? And what would you have done in this situation? Would you also have towed the neighbor instantly? Let us know in the comments. And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.